I love watching the religious claiming that atheists are wrong when it's clear that they know absolutely nothing about, well, anything. Because these people really are dumb, and they're not only not that aware, they just don't care. And this video is going to be a litany of religious dumbassery, because what else can they do? What else indeed? Okay, this isn't that Paul Ross, just some random theist who hasn't got a clue, but he's going to rail against atheists, which he clearly knows absolutely nothing about, and tell everyone what we want, which he gets universally wrong, because he'd rather believe in a bunch of Bronze Age myths because it makes him happy. And I can't express just how stupid all of that is. But since when has reality meant a damn thing to these people? Get ready to roll your eyes, because there's going to be a lot of that going on. Here's why Paul is laughably and absurdly wrong. And this is why it's all so pathetic.
My last question. This is probably going to be the most simplest one for you to answer, but what if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. We could all be wrong about the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and the flying teapot.
And that's actually an honest answer, because he's right. Anyone could be wrong, even Christians. But you notice that they don't want to address that question, do they? Or if they do make an attempt, they start off with the assumption that it's either their God or no gods at all. Well, what if they're wrong? What if the only real God is a God who gets pretty damn pissed that you're worshiping the opposition? What if the only real God is a God that's worshipped by aliens 500 million light years away and they don't care about us at all? These are questions that have to be asked, and they are questions that the religious want to avoid at any cost. I know, because I've tried. They just won't respond. Because, as we all know, they just don't care. Whether they like it or not, that's an issue. Now, it occurs to me that I might have just answered this entire video up front without Ross ever having to say a word. I hope not. I hope he has something intelligent to say, something that's worth paying attention to, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. Anyhow, onward.
I've always found it extraordinarily odd that the atheist seeks to liberate people from belief in God.
Except we don't. Now, as I always say, I can't speak for anyone but myself, and neither should anyone else. But I don't want to liberate you or anyone else from the belief in God. I want you to have a brain in your head and examine your positions rationally and with evidence of forethought. I want people to stop believing stupid, unsupportable things for no good reason. That's it. And that goes for gods and alien abductions and Bigfoot and ghosts and everything else for which there is no objective evidence in support of the claim. I want the world to be rational. Now, I have no false hope that that will happen anytime soon. There are far too many really dumb people out there. But any step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. I could put videos on this channel about alien abductions and the Loch Ness Monster, because that does fit under my rubric of exposing stupidity wherever it hides. But none of these things have the impact or reach that religion and other crazy, irrational supernatural beliefs have, and therefore, that's what I'm going to focus on. My audience has voted near unanimously that that's what they want to see. So Paul here, he's wrong, right off the bat. How surprising is that?
Seeks to rescue them from their belief in a meaningful, purposeful, and rational existence. Seeks to convert them to one of their fundamental doctrines, the doctrine of absolute and ultimate absurdity.
No, that would be the religious, because going to the dictionary, since I haven't done that in a while, absurdity means the quality or state of being ridiculous or wholly unreasonable. And that's you people, because you have nothing but bald assertions, overactive emotional states, and no evidence of any kind that your beliefs are factually true. Faith doesn't lead you anywhere, not anywhere useful anyhow. I want people to reject ideas for which there is no evidence, things that only appeal to them on an emotional level, until such a time as these things become reasonable to believe. And the religious aren't big on that, are they? And that's kind of sad.
Why is it they are so determined to awaken us to the ultimate meaninglessness and purposelessness of existence, as their narrative has it?
We're trying to get you to see reality. It doesn't matter what you feel. That's the ultimate downfall of religion. It's just a bunch of immature children living in adult bodies. Just because you want to be happy all the time, that's not how the real world works, whether you like it or not. Believing utter nonsense for emotional reasons is utterly childish. It really is. Yet, that's the basis of religion, right? All about fifis, fuck the facts. The facts are uncomfortable, so they just get ignored, so long as the religious can construct an emotional happy land in their heads. These are people with problems, and whether they like it or not, I am going to point it out. Oh, I'm sure they're going to kick and scream and throw emotional temper tantrums because they don't get their way all the time. But so what? Too bad, so sad. You're just proving my point. These people aren't anywhere close to spitting distance of anything identifiable as reality. And that's what makes religion such an absurd joke.
So eager to open our eyes to the absolute and irrational absurdity of life. This is the truth that sets us free, they assert. But in a pointless, meaningless reality, one that is rooted in irrational, accidental absurdity, why does their truth matter?
All truth matters. There is no my truth or your truth. There is only the truth. There are only the things that are actually so in the objective reality that we all share. It doesn't matter if the speed of light makes you miserable. It's still true. It is still objectively demonstrable fact. Get the hell over yourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with the religious is that they can't see past their own vastly inflated egos because they just don't care. It's all about them after all. It's all about their feelings and never about the things going on outside of their heads because they don't give a damn about that, do they? So I figured, what the hell, let's go see what the dictionary had to say about maturity because the religious are definitely not mature. So here we go. Behave in a way characteristic of a responsible adult, especially by accomplishing mundane but necessary tasks. And guess what? Dealing with the facts in a mature manner, that is a necessary task. Coming to grips with what's actually going on, that's absolutely necessary. And the religious can't do that because they are not adults.
If existence is ultimately anchored in accidental and irrational absurdity, why does it ultimately matter if people choose to take up a belief that gives their lives meaning? So what if they are revolting against reality? If reality is ultimately absurd, who cares?
Not you, we know that, but the problem is your beliefs inform your actions, and when your actions ultimately harm others, you've got problems. I don't care what makes you happy. I really don't. I care if the societal bonds that all humans have are maintained and strengthened by the crap in your head. It's why I call religion a mind poison. It alters how people perceive reality, and in so doing, it harms people across the board. It makes them throw their money at pointless churches that lie to them and molest their children. It causes them to vote in ways that are objectively in violation of basic human rights. It causes them to abuse their children mentally, emotionally, and sometimes physically to get the religious stupidity to continue on into the next generation. You cannot help but be altered by the religious mind poison that you've allowed into your heads. And that harms us all. It really does.
It's all about the truth, they say. What truth is that? They have never not once proven and established this truth.
Except we have. The religious whine about evolution, which is the single best supported theory in all of the biological sciences, maybe even in all of science itself. Yet a lot of theists simply deny it because it gets in the way of their religious stupidity. And we can go on and on and on and on. Screw the environment because Earth doesn't matter. We're all going to be whisked away to a magical happy place anyhow. Don't go to doctors. God will provide. Except running around sick poses a health hazard for everyone in your community that you come in contact with. All of this and more has been conclusively proven over and over and over again, but they're still screaming and kicking their feet because they don't like it. Well, fuck your liking it. Your approval and emotional comfort mean absolutely nothing. Reality is what it is. Try living in it sometime.
Their non-belief and uncertainty do not settle their case. God's non-existence is not established because they lack a belief. What truth are they seeking to convert us to?
The truth, as I said. The only truth we have any good reason to think is out there. But that's not what they want, is it? They want to pretend that everything that gives them a feel-good chemical hit in the brain, well, that's got to be true because it gives them the results that they want. They're just pigeons in a cage, pecking at a button that releases food. Lather, rinse, and repeat. They never think about what lies beyond the bars because everything that makes them happy is right there. And that's an incredibly stunted way to look at the world, isn't it? But these are very stunted people. It's hard to imagine anything sadder than the religious being dumb.
What is this truth that they can never ultimately verify and demonstrate? They are so determined that we agree with them, concede their points, and amend our convictions.
Except we're not the ones banging on your door on Sunday morning, trying to share the good news of reality with you. That's you people, except it's not reality. And this is something that comes up all the time, that the religious, not only are they convinced that we're just like they are because, we have to be, that makes them happy, but they think we're the ones doing all of the things that they are because they can never see it any other way. We have no churches with bells that get rung to call in the faithful. We have no missionaries trying to hunt down people blissfully unaware of their dogmatic beliefs. We aren't making claims that lack evidentiary support. All of that is them. And they're so blinded by their absurd faith that they can't see that they're the ones guilty of every single bit of it. Like I said, folks, they're not too smart. And they're too dumb to figure that out.
What drives their evangelistic zeal? They seek to persuade us, but the idea of persuasion in a universe devoid of free will makes no sense. In a universe that lacks free will, determined by the impersonal forces of nature, what is the point of arguing with anyone that disagrees with them in the first place?
Well, if there really is no free will, meaning everything that happens was predetermined from the beginning of time by the position of atoms and a sufficient knowledge of the interaction of matter and energy over billions and billions of years would give you certainty in every event that would ever play out through time, then they have no choice, and neither do you. Paul Ross had no choice but to make this video exactly as he did. And I have no choice but to respond to it. And all the people who are watching this video, they had no choice either. Everything is pre-programmed and entirely beyond our ability to do otherwise. We're just robots, programmed by reality to do whatever we're doing without any choice whatsoever. In fact, our brains can't even conceive of the possibility that there is no choice. We couldn't even imagine what free will was, unless the interactions of atoms and molecules programmed us to think that way. How fucking dumb is that? But I understand some people believe it for bad reasons. Yeah, but anyhow.
They are desperate to change our minds. But in a universe where minds are just the accidental, unintended byproducts of emergent, non-rational bastard forces, how can minds be changed if they're ultimately epiphenomenal illusions? What makes one person's belief truer than another person's belief in a reality where truth is ultimately absurd?
And these people keep saying that, but I don't think they understand the words coming out of their mouths. Because look at their own beliefs. God supposedly knows everything with perfect clarity before the universe was ever set in motion. He knows everything that will ever happen, and he can't conceivably be wrong. And then this guy goes off and complains about free will, completely ignoring the fact that under his own religious model, he can't conceivably have free will because he can't conceivably do anything that God has not preordained. What he really means here is that reality doesn't give him a dopamine buzz, so he'll just pretend reality isn't real because fee-fees. But he hasn't thought intellectually about the crap in his head because the crap in his head is even worse. And I hate to have to keep pointing out just how stupid that is, but that's stupid. It really is. All he's doing is crying. Why are you trying to get me to accept a reality that doesn't make me happy? Because it's real! Deal with it!
From where comes that purpose to convince us that existence exists without purpose? How is it that they derive meaning from convincing us that there is no ultimate meaning?
You can assign your own meaning and your own purpose to your own life. There is no need for ultimate anything. You can't demonstrate that there is ultimate anything. You're just running around playing make-believe and getting mad at us for not playing along. That's really one of the saddest bits of it all. You've got mental and emotional problems, and you're just projecting that onto everyone else. You can't see that it's you that needs the help, because crazy people don't think they're crazy. They are not in tune with the real world, and they don't understand that's a problem. And that's kind of pathetic, isn't it?
They tell us that their reasoning is anchored in rationality, but then go on to explain that their rationality has no ontological grounding in reality.
Which is completely false, because reasoning is grounded in reality, the reality that shows that it's reasonable to accept, based on the evidence that we have at hand, these ideas. But they don't want to talk about evidence. They never do. They don't even understand what anyone means when they talk about evidence. We're not talking about the things you interpret through your thick ideological religious goggles to support the emotional conclusion that you've already come to in your head. That's not evidence. Evidence is objective. Evidence is something that anyone can look at without having to be predisposed to come to any conclusion at all. And that means the personal experiences that people claim to have, that is not evidence. They might convince you, but no one else should believe a thing on the basis of something that supposedly happened in your life. Individual revelation is not evidence. It's you suffering from a brain misfire, unless you can share that experience with other people in some demonstrable way so that they can either validate or refute your findings. It isn't evidence. But this is all that the religious have, if you notice. Stupid stories they tell themselves in their heads, and the second anyone beyond their blind belief goes out and tries to confirm their stories objectively, the whole house of cards falls apart. Because they don't know what the hell evidence is.
So I ask, what is it that they are trying to convert us to? They will tell us that God explains nothing, and then will go on to explain that the universe exists via an unexplained cosmic casino of infinite universes in a multiverse that they have no way of proving nor any idea from where it came.
Nor is that really relevant. Now, I already explained how the religious are looking for ultimates. What is the ultimate meaning? What is the ultimate purpose? What ultimately happens, and where did everything ultimately come from? And all of these are just bad questions to ask. The fact is, we don't know. We might never know. There is a point right about Planck time where everything we can examine breaks down. And they don't like that. Well, too bad for you. You don't get to just make up stupid shit because you just don't like the truth. Yet that's all the religious do. It's all they've ever done. It's all they can do. Because they don't want to come to grips with the factual truth that we're not the center of everything. That everything doesn't revolve around us. That we can't just get our way all the time and know absolutely everything. Because that's just not possible with our limited senses. And these people, because they've got massive egos and refuse to acknowledge humanity as ultimately irrelevant to the cosmos, they just throw a temper tantrum and just make something up because it makes them happy. It's not possible to reason with these people because these people are not reasonable in the first place. And they don't care about that, do they?
How does that explain anything? They will never explain the phenomenon of our world. They will never give a sufficient reason for its existence. They merely assert that in any complex system of interacting things, novel properties can emerge at certain levels of organization and order, which is, of course, merely to describe a system of magic without using the word magic.
Just like you people do. Except you don't much care if you use magic because that's all your deity actually is. He's Harry Potter waving a wand around and making crap happen. Except on our side, we can demonstrate a great many things. On yours, not so much. You can't prove a damn thing. We can show where the planet came from, explain the fundamental properties that caused our solar system to come into being, explain where life came from and how humanity arose. You, well, is just swish and flick and everything was there. And that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. You people are simply unaware of just how dumb everything that you believe actually is. And then you project your stupidity onto others. Why is that?
They love magic. Magic explains everything that they don't understand. Rather than God as the performer of magic, magic performs itself. The materialistic atheist has done a wonderful job at erasing the existence of God that works miracles and replaced God with miracles that work themselves for no sufficient reason.
Which only proves that you don't understand anything that anyone else is saying. And I think that much is pretty clear. We see it all the time. Theists saying things about science that are demonstrably false because they really don't know a damn thing about science. And they don't want to know, if you notice. It's why people like William Lane Craig, who have been repeatedly corrected on their bad ideas and faulty claims, continue to repeat these bad ideas and faulty claims over and over and over again. Because he doesn't care. What he's doing makes money, and the people he's talking to, they're not that smart, so hey, why not lie to them? He has to know that he's wrong, or he's just too stupid to figure it out. Nobody knows any better, and he gets paid, so what difference does it make, right? That's kind of the religious mantra if you notice. What difference does it make? Well, A lot. It makes a lot of difference. And you people are just gullible idiots.
The materialistic atheist has not eradicated miracles, just merely multiplied them without any ultimate explanation. This is their truth they seek to convert us to. This is the absurdity that sets us free. No thanks. I'm not interested.
Not surprised. Delusional people are rarely interested in reality. It tends to get in the way of their feelings. This is someone who is completely fucking stupid, ranting that their fifis are not being served, so he's going to hide away in his religious safe space where he doesn't have to think, because thinking is pretty damn hard. It's why discussing things with the religious is like talking to 6-year-olds. Actually, most 6-year-olds are smarter than they are. You can't reason with the inherently unreasonable. You can't talk about reality with people who've never experienced it. And that's why these people are ultimately a complete waste of time.
I'm Paul Ross, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, that was a complete waste of time, wasn't it? And this is another video where the comments are turned off so nobody can go and tell him what a dumbass he is. Because these people don't care one bit. That's what we've seen time and time again. They're just out there spewing stupidity, and the second anyone comes by to correct their misconceptions, they scream and they cry and they hide. Most of them hide, if you notice, and then they rush off somewhere else to do it all again. They're not interested in having intelligent, honest, evidence-based discussions because they have absolutely none of those things. They never have, and they never will. It's why they refuse to come and talk to us directly. They're terrified that there are people out there who look at their heartfelt beliefs and laugh. And it's why they don't want to engage with us. It's why they make videos aimed at people on their side and their side alone, and why those videos get downvoted into the ground. Because these people have problems, and I think it's the job of every rational person out there to point it out. Not just when it comes to religion, but everywhere. Anything that is not supported by evidence, logic, and reason, it deserves to be called out for the stupidity that it is, no matter whose precious little fifis that hurts. Because your feelings don't matter. Only reality does. And it's why these people keep going deeper into hiding, if you notice. Because they're really bothered by being exposed as the stupid, irrational gits that they are. It's a whole bunch of whining and crying and calling us names because we've exposed the truth. And they don't like the truth very much. It just means that what we're doing works. So I'm going to keep it up. And I hope you come along.
Bum